It is late December 2025, and if you think you have seen it all in the Russia-Ukraine war, you are wrong. We are looking at a conflict that has morphed into something completely surreal, a mix of futuristic dystopia and World War I trench warfare, all wrapped up in a geopolitical deadlock that no one seems to know how to break. We need to talk about what is happening on the ground, in the Kremlin, and in Washington, because the updates from this week are nothing short of insane. Let's start with the front lines. The situation is grim, muddy, and bizarre. In the Pokrovsk sector, which has been a meat grinder for months, we are seeing reports that Russian forces have literally started using cavalry. Yes, you heard that right. Horses in 2025. We are seeing video evidence of cavalry charges being used to storm positions because the terrain is so bogged down and the equipment losses are so high. It is a terrifying juxtaposition. On one hand, you have soldiers on horseback trudging through the mud, and on the other hand, they are being hunted by the absolute cutting edge of drone warfare. Speaking of drones, the game has changed again. Russian forces have rolled out the Molniya 2. This used to be just a strike drone, but now they have retrofitted it with Starlink terminals. This gives them high-speed, real-time control for reconnaissance. So you have a battlefield where horses are charging under a sky filled with Starlink-connected hunter-killer drones. And it's not just the tech, it's the sheer volume. In a single night, we are seeing waves of nearly 100 drones hitting infrastructure, targeting cities like Odessa and Rivne, trying to choke off the supply lines from Europe. But the war is not just staying on the front lines. The shadow war inside Russia is escalating to levels we have not seen before. Moscow itself is becoming a kill zone for its own top brass. Just this week, Lieutenant General Fanil Savarov, the head of the General Staff's operational training, was killed. A car bomb in Moscow. He did not die on the front. He died in the capital. And he is not the only one. If you look at the stats for 2025, 3 Russian generals have been liquidated inside Moscow in a single year. Krylov, Moskalik, and now Savarov. That is not an accident. That is a systemic infiltration. And it's not just assassinations. The infrastructure inside Russia is literally crumbling, sometimes with a little help. There was a massive incident in the Volgograd region recently where the Central Asia Center gas pipeline just collapsed. This is the artery that pumps gas from Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan. The official Russian explanation was that the soil subsided due to gravity. That was the actual statement. Ukrainian intelligence calls it a geological incident that tends to happen to objects financing the war. Whatever you call it, the result is the same. The energy infrastructure feeding the Russian war machine is breaking down. Now, let's zoom out to the geopolitics, because this is where things get truly messy. We are in a post-election period in the United States, and the diplomatic landscape is chaotic. There were high hopes, or fears, depending on who you ask, about the Anchorage talks. This was supposed to be the big moment between Trump and Putin. The reports coming out now suggest that Trump effectively offered Putin everything on a silver platter to end the war, including recognition of Crimea, a return to the G8, lifting of sanctions, and blocking Ukraine from NATO. And here is the kicker: Putin has not taken the deal. Why? Because for the Kremlin, this is not about business. If this were a business transaction, Putin would have cashed out. But he views any survival of a sovereign Ukraine as a defeat. He wants total capitulation. He wants the Ukrainian provinces he annexed on paper, but does not control on the ground. He is even demanding that if there are elections or a ceasefire, Ukrainian citizens currently deported to Russia must be allowed to vote. It is a demand designed to be impossible to meet. The absurdity of the American political response is highlighted by the new special envoy for Greenland, Governor Landry. Amidst the biggest war in Europe since 1945, his stated goal is to make Greenland part of the United States. It feels like everyone is operating in different realities. Washington wants a deal, Kyiv wants survival, and Moscow wants an empire. And make no mistake, Moscow is digging in for the long haul. We just saw the signed Russian federal budget for 2026. They allocated 40% of all government spending to the army and to security. That is a record. That is not a budget for a country looking for an off-ramp. That is a budget for a country transforming into a permanent war economy. It is a black hole where money, people, and the future go to die. This brings us to the most chilling warning of the week. Budanov, the head of Ukrainian intelligence, dropped a bombshell. Previously, the assessment was that Russia might be ready for a direct military confrontation with Europe by 2030. The timeline has shifted. The new assessment is 2027. Russia is accelerating. They are rebuilding. They are working with Belarus to set up massive artillery production plants south of Minsk. They are not stopping at Ukraine. So, why does this keep happening? Why do the Russian people support this meat grinder? Why do they cheer for leaders who send them to die in the mud? There was a fascinating observation made this week regarding Stalin's birthday, which was on the 21st. The worship of Stalin, and by extension Putin, is at an all-time high. The mindset is that fear equals respect. As one expert put it, in Russian political culture, pity is weakness. They do not want a leader who cares about their lives. They want a leader who is feared by the world. They are willing to endure poverty, casualties, and isolation as long as they feel like they are part of a feared empire. As we head into 2026, the front line is frozen in a bloody stalemate. The peace talks are circular and unproductive. The West is trying to find a logical business solution to an ideological war, and Ukraine is left holding the line. The drone war is evolving. The sabotage is hitting the heart of Moscow, and the Russian bear is wounded but still incredibly dangerous. The strategy for the coming year seems to be survival for Ukraine and total attrition for Russia. It is going to be a very long winter. Stay tuned.